Why, hello, everyone. It is so lovely to see you. Welcome to Joleen's Happy Time Craftcast. I am indeed Joleen, and it's my pleasure to spend time with you today. Couple of announcements before we get to today's guest. Life on the farm has been absolutely amazing. We did have a recent catastrophe, and I almost wonder if I shouldn't do like an entire segment, show, bring Darren on and we can talk about what sometimes feels like the money pit. But I don't know. This one might be too soon. Like the wound is too fresh for us maybe to laugh about it too much. Let me just plant the seed and tell you in the politest way that I can. It involved sewage stuff. So maybe we'll have another episode where we talk about poo, and that'll be delightful and fun. And who doesn't want to do that? So other than that little catastrophe, everything has been absolutely wonderful. So thank you so much for being here today. And as always, I'm very excited about today's guests. Bailey Tessier is my guest today, and she is a mosaic artist based in St. Paul, Minnesota. And she began working with mosaics when she was a teenager in 2007. And she used broken plates to create beautiful and intricate designs. And actually, it's a great story. It was a rainy day project where she was sitting down with her mom, and Bailey stuck with it. And I think her mom went off and did other things. And that rainy day project has led to a passion that has taken Bailey to all kinds of amazing places. She's known for her custom pet portraits and nature-inspired work. And get this, she has created pieces for the Minnesota Orchestra, Bank of America, and lots of others. And she's hung around in my area. She's got a Bachelor of Art from Luther College, which is down in my neck of the woods. And so I'm very, 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 very excited to welcome Bailey to the Happy Time Craftcast. Here she is. Hi, Bailey.
Hi.
Hi.
Just cheesing in the background as you're talking about me.
Thank you so much for being here. I have so many people in my world who are interested in mosaic and talk about mosaic. And you know what? I even for the longest time was carrying around glass jars of broken plates, thinking that someday I would come up with a use for these things. So tell us a little bit about like your origin story. Tell us about that rainy day.
Oh, yeah. And you're a true crafter if you have just random
Yes, of
buckets,
course.
little utensils
Yes,
holding all kinds of goodies, because I
bits
feel a
and
little bit
bobs.
like a raven. Yeah, like I
Yeah,
have jars and jars of sea glass and random tiles and rocks, and I'm like, for what? I don't know. Someday.
right.
Um, I began, yeah, like you said, at my cabin on the Gunflint Trail back in 2007. And my mom was the one who really was like, we got to do this. I've been telling you for years, like I have all these broken plates. I have all the materials. Basically, she's like, I have us covered, the books, the cutters, the glue, got it from Michael's, like, let's do
Sure.
this. And so, as a 17-year-old, I was just like, fine, like whatever. You caught me. You caught me at the cabin. I can't escape. Let's do it.
Right.
So we sit on our screened-in porch and we get started. And I feel like that first break, like once you have that tool. So
Oh,
like,
sure. The
for example, like
snippers.
once you have,
Yeah.
this isn't the tool that I used in the beginning, but once you have that tool and you apply it and you feel that break and you understand the control that you can have, I feel like that really connected with me. And so it just became me. Like, of course, I always love having a reference. So having those inspiration books, having
Sure.
that mosaic how-to, and just like staring at them and being like, it appears that they made this out of a bunch of squares.
Right.
So I'm going to do
Exactly.
that. Yeah,
Right.
so I started making squares. I started doing this and that, and eventually, should I show them the pieces now,
Please.
or should we wait?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Absolutely. And for
So
those of you listening, I'll try to help describe what Bailey is holding up. So tell us about this piece. It's flowers it's on a frame. It's
yeah,
beautiful. What are we looking at?
it's all, it's like a pale yellow. It's flowers. It's got little gems, but basically, it was my first attempt at being able to understand how closely to put these pieces together. Figuring out, like, I got some little teardroppy shapes in there.
Nice.
these petal shapes. So it felt very intuitive to me.
Well,
And
and what
also
I'm noticing,
that's my grandpa.
oh,
Both of my grandparents and these are no longer with us, but
right,
I'll feature Grandma Lois real quick. She was a huge supporter of me doing crafty things. So like
of course.
from an early age, I was painting. I was
So, Bailey, something I'm
doing.
noticing about your composition, if I may, is
Mm,
it looks like you allow for a little bit of white space, and that in the first one, right? And not every single surface is covered with a piece of the tile or glass or plate. Is that
yeah,
kind of like that feels for me, it feels a little bit liberating because I feel like when I mosaic, I feel the pressure of getting all the pieces to fit together really snug so that there's not a whole lot of white space or room for it. What is your grout medium or what do you use in between the pieces?
yeah, it's grout. It's
It's
grout
grout.
mixed with water. You kind of get it to that peanut buttery consistency.
Yeah.
But when I first did these, I did it completely wrong. I bought like pre-mixed grout. I rubbed it in there, and then I left it overnight. And I actually had, because I was like, oh, I'm not going to
Right.
read the instructions. That's a lot of work. And the next day, to my horror, it was like, of course, hardened,
Oh,
like a
definitely.
cast over it. So I had to
Mhm.
like chip away at it. But yeah, you do have some give with mosaics. You can have like a little bit of space as long as there's consistency that can keep that grout attached to something. Um,
Sure.
there's some wiggle room, so you don't have to feel
And
totally confined.
And would you say that mosaic art is it beginner friendly? Like for those of us who like the folks in this room now and listening later, I would say, wouldn't you friends, that we are craft dabblers? Like we are like we will explore and try. Like we'll do a little
Yeah,
of this, we'll do a little of that. And so if we are feeling inspired to give this a little go, is it beginner friendly?
100%. Like
Okay.
you just have to have the want to try. And honestly, just having all the materials, like
Okay.
that's the biggest hurdle, I think, is understanding what kind of glue, what kind of cutter, what kind of this is called tesserae. Anything that you use, glass or plates or jewels, all of that
Mhm.
is tesserae. It's what you use, your medium
Sure.
that you're applying. So just as long as you have all the steps,
Mhm.
lined up. It's kind of like when you learned to cook, when you actually learn to like read through the instructions a couple times,
Right.
prep all the ingredients, have those off to the side so that
Yep.
you're not scrambling. Yeah, just it makes it a lot easier and a lot less stressful.
So would you say then that like do you have a favorite project medium or technique inside of the mosaics? Like and then part two of that question, talk to us about the pet portraits because we are a community of pet lovers. In fact, I think I can speak on behalf of all of us that we don't trust you if you don't like animals. So
Yes.
so talk to us a
Okay.
little bit about the first part, favorite projects, mediums or techniques, and then how if that led to the pet portraits.
Yeah. So I feel like my work is unique at times because I've developed these really long pieces. Like if you go to my
Mhm.
website and you see anytime that I've made like a sky piece,
Yeah.
I've learned how to like cut these very long, flowy pieces so that it really
Cool.
isn't as busy. So that's
Okay,
kind of
okay,
I would attribute that to something that I do specifically.
okay.
Um, I also love doing gouache painting or tempera painting. That's kind of a newer thing. I've always painted watercolor, but I discovered gouache during the pandemic,
Sure.
and it like two peas in a pod. It just felt right. And then with the pet portraits, I don't really use really long shapes very often. They're much smaller, right? They're usually
Yeah,
about this big,
yeah.
and I started making them. Actually, the first one I ever made was for my friend Erin, who I met at my first office job at Hennepin Theater Trust,
Cool.
and
Love those
and
guys.
she had just moved to Minnesota from Florida. It was like,
Okay.
kind of culture shock. She
Yes.
didn't she only had one other person that she knew, maybe like one friend kind of distantly that she was going to reconnect with, but besides
Mhm.
that, she was really striking out on her own, and
Yeah.
I wanted to break down misconception that maybe it's not a misconception, but like I'm not a Minnesotan that creates
Right.
barriers to having like quality friendships. I
Yeah. Yeah.
I I facilitate them, I think, to a degree. So when I got to know her, and I was like, okay, I like her. I like her. I want her to know that like she's my friend. So I've always
Yeah.
been much of a gift giver. So
Yes. That's like a
I made
love
a
language.
mosaic of her dog, Hank, a little French bulldog. And it was small, it was like this big, it was very
Yeah.
simple, but I was like, dang, that was fun, that was
Yeah.
easy, and like you said, animals are literally the best.
Yes, they are.
And like, as a pet owner myself, I would buy these, or I would
Yeah.
gift these to
Treasure.
someone.
So did she
Yeah,
flip out? Did she just treasure it so much?
yeah, she was like, "What? Like, why? What? Like, why?" And I was
Right.
like, "'Cause I like you."
Oh my God, Bailey, I hope you like me. I'll pull up my dog. He's right, he's right
Yeah,
down
yeah,
here.
yeah.
That sounds like such a precious treasure. My friend Molly, she embroidered my dog Augie, and it's like my most favorite thing. It's like in the kitchen, it's like a little, 4-inch hoop. I mean, people can't touch it, but I let them look at it. Like, I get how your friend felt. Like, it was a gift that I will treasure always and always and always. So, but with your pet portraits, didn't it also turn into like a thing, like an adoption? Am I remembering something about that right?
Oh, you're remembering my upcoming collaboration that I'm doing.
Okay.
So I have a favorite like vintage thrifty shop in St. Paul, and it's in a inconvenient location because it's next to a Trader Joe's parking lot, and we all know that's the
Right.
worst. But
Yes.
I love it so much, so I will go out of my way. I will
Yes.
find parking in the worst parking lot in the
Yes.
city to go there, and it's called the Mustache Cat, and
Great
I
name.
just it's just delightful. It has local artist trinkets. It has vintage work. Like I feel like every time I go in there, I come out
Sure.
with something.
The Mustache
Um,
Cat in St. Paul, yeah?
yeah. So
Okay.
I reached out to Rebecca at the Mustache Cat, the owner, and I was like, I don't know. I want to do something. Like
Yeah.
I feel a part of this. Like I want to be a part of your community. She's so good at facilitating like candle making in vintage teacups. She does like wreath making. She does all kinds of stuff with
Yeah.
people and hosts it in her space. So her idea was, what if we have people submit their pet portraits to be made, and they're going to be smaller than my normal ones, like this big, probably
Yeah.
like $100, $95, I think is what we decided on. And we'll have a special adoption day where everybody comes to pick up their piece in the store, and
Oh,
yeah,
that's
just has like a
so
little,
cool.
yeah, like it's cute.
Aw, it's very cute. I love that so much. I might be able to get an Augie after all.
Yes, yes. Yep.
Oh,
We're
what a
gonna
great
we're figuring out the
idea.
details, but hopefully
Okay.
we'll know more in August.
Well, and so if our listeners like want to find you and see your work and see the long, swooping cut pieces, we will direct them to your Instagram and your website. Like, that's primarily where you're kind of hanging out.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
that's where
Awesome.
I am. Yeah.
So, okay, so if we circle back to that beginner question, and like, again, my listeners, we are a community of doers and dabblers, and we like to try. So, I'm a beginner. I've been thinking about it for a long time. Could you maybe talk me through, like, what do I need? Like, without getting like all the really expensive good stuff, like, do you have like a supply list, or like, get me started?
Okay. I think it is cliche, but Michael's, when you're in a pinch and you haven't necessarily it's like a one-stop shop to get all those little
Yes.
bits. So
Yeah.
they have great bases that you can choose from. I recommend starting with something like as simple as a square. Like
Yes.
uh think smaller to start. Don't go get too ambitious, because I feel like the
Right.
first
I'm
one,
gonna do
if
a
you succeed.
24 by 36, my first time, right?
Yeah, me too. No.
I would do. So you are speaking right to me, Bailey. Like, Jolene, dial down. Start small. Okay, starting small.
Like, take it down a notch. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of stuff in here right now that I can use
Okay.
as an example, but I would say get an inspiration book. I don't
Okay.
think there's any shame in just doing like let me copy this from this book. Like, let me
Right, to
walk through
learn.
this
Mhm.
and really focus with mosaics on making shapes. Like, make a triangle, make a square, make a rectangle, and then see, like, I love looking at old quilt patterns, quilts that, or those
Mm.
quilt squares that are on barns in the
Yeah, barn
Midwest.
quilts, yeah.
Um, Try and replicate that. Try and yeah, just like find inspiration and then try to recreate it. I think that's a
Right,
great way, because then you don't burden yourself with like, oh, I'm not an artist, I don't know how to design something. And it's
right.
like, you don't have to. You can just step by step, and then eventually you'll get the tools and the techniques down that you can start to pivot away from that and get a little
Sure.
more adventurous. Yeah.
So you're okay. So a good strong base. Your frames were what, made from wood when you
Mhm.
first started. Talk to me about glue. What's the glue that I'm going to use in my first time out the gate?
Yeah, you're gonna use Weld Bond. It
Weld
is,
bond.
I have a jug of it somewhere, but it's I know they come in smaller things, but I get the giant,
Yeah.
like, milk jug size glue. And I learned this from my mentor, Shara Frank, which, if you don't follow her on Instagram, where have you been? She's amazing.
Right. We'll
And
link her. We'll link her. Yeah.
yeah, she also has mosaic bases. So, like, once you've done that first couple of tries, little
Yep.
attempts, she's got like owls and like teapots and like really beautiful, and you can just
Mhm.
glue right into there. So, anyways, she taught me to put glue into a Ziploc bag into the corner and make basically like a little cake frosting kind of bag. So I
Oh,
snipped off the end. That's rubber
so
band,
smart.
and just the tiniest snip, because you don't want that glue just leaking all
Yeah.
over the place. I've made the
Yeah.
mistake a lot. I also keep it in a bowl just because I'm like, it might leak. Who knows?
Right. Right.
But you're just gonna add. I do have plenty of glass, so I can show you
Yeah.
when you're adding glue. So I've got a piece of glass here. It's probably an inch or a little over an inch. This is the amount of glue that you're gonna want. Like, that's it.
Tiny.
It's not it's not
It's like
yeah,
a pea. Smaller than a
it's like
pea.
dab, dab, dab. When you push
Yeah.
it down, you're gonna wanna see the glue just kinda slightly come out from the corners. That's
Okay.
how you know it's sealed in there. But
Yeah.
if it like glue, like there's glue everywhere, you've gone too far, turn
Right.
back,
Back up. Right.
try
Retreat.
again. Yeah. And
Love
then,
it.
yeah, placing these pieces next to each other, you're just gonna leave the slightest little, maybe, how far apart is this?
Like
Like,
an 16th?
yeah, just like a tiny little gap. And the more you look at pictures and the more you see
Right.
grout spacing, it'll kind of be more intuitive, and you'll understand you don't want to
Right.
have them like way apart, because when you grout, it's not going to have anything to cling to.
Right. And so, okay, so weld bond, maybe we're going to start with a wood background. Maybe it's a wood picture frame, something I would imagine that doesn't have a lot of flex, right? Something
Yeah,
solid.
you'd wanna, if it is wood, I don't think that I primed mine. I mean, this is from a long
Oh,
time ago, but like I would prime it now
prime it.
knowing what I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
so mix a little bit of that Weld Bond glue in with a little bit of water, like a little, make a little paste
Mhm.
or a little
Make a little
wash.
slurry. Mhm.
Yeah, wash it all over the thing a couple of times. Let it dry, do it again, front and back,
Smart.
and then you're good to go.
So we're not priming it with paint, we're priming it with glue, and we're gonna
Yes.
let it be for a bit. Something solid, weld bond, start small, Joleen, start small. Um, use a reference photo, and then grout, right? So grout
Yep.
is after our composition is done. Do you have a recommended favorite there as well? A beginner grade?
Grout. I I think that you can buy stuff from Michaels. That it does get really expensive when you buy
Yeah.
that kind of stuff from Michaels, because they're gonna overcharge you for a little
Yes.
bit. I've always gone to Menards,
Save big
or
money.
yeah, save big money, get that rebate. I'm not sure, like, hardware store. Go to a hardware store. There's
Yep.
gonna be a grout section with tile, and they'll have most of the stuff that we're talking about as well. Probably not Weld Bond, but they'll have some sort of adhesive. And you want sanded grout. I've made the mistake.
Sanded
Yeah,
grout.
like, sanded is just going to be so much less of a headache. If you get unsanded, it gets into this. I don't even know how to describe it. It just feels wrong.
Yeah, yeah,
Sanded
I can
grout is,
actually visualize it too, like it
yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's
like
like
it's slicker and
rumsical
like,
peanut butter. Mhm.
yeah. And whereas with sanded, when you mix the water to it, you want it to be like a peanut butter consistency. And
Okay.
I also learned to mix grout in a Ziploc bag. So because we're not doing huge giant
Right,
floors,
right, it's just a
we're
little
not
baby piece.
mosaicing. Yeah, we're not
Right,
doing an entire backsplash yet,
right.
right?
Jolene,
Um,
stay small.
we'll get there. But we start small and in the Ziploc bag, and that way you can add a little bit of water at a time, mix it in with, like
Mhm.
massage it with your fingers. And typically, read the instructions. In the old days, we had to let it sit for like 10 minutes to go through a chemical process. But I
Right,
think newer grout is like only like 3 minutes. And then
okay.
once it sits, once you let it do that, break it up again, and then basically you're just rubbing that all through the piece. You're gonna, gloves. Get those rubber
Yeah,
gloves. I recommend having those soft yellow sponges. They're not super porous, but the kind that
yeah,
you'll get at Menards. They're there.
yeah,
Uh, and that's a great way also. So like you initially rub it on, and then you use that sponge to remove the excess grout, and it kind of takes away that risk that you're going to hurt your fingers because
right.
they're doing mosaics. There is a little bit of a potential that you can have
Yeah,
not pretty nails or
yep, yep,
nick up your fingertips a little bit, but
yep.
it all heals and we're good.
So, okay, very helpful, so inspiring. I am basically sitting on my hands because I'm like going to the michaels.com right now. Like I want to get all this stuff. So one more question. Snippers and cutters. I'm a beginner and I want to cut a triangle or I want to cut a petal. And how do I do that?
Yes. Okay, let me see. I know for
I
the
love
people
the
listening,
sound that makes when you stick your hand in there, by the
I
way.
know, I was
It's
like, all right,
wildly
that's
satisfying.
that one's too boring a color. Let me find a better color. Okay,
Okay.
so this is a piece of stained glass, and you can see this is big. I
It's
also
beautiful.
I want to walk back a little bit, maybe not Michael's, maybe go to like witsendmosaic.com. There are
Okay.
a couple of like mosaic providers. They'll have everything you need to, and then you
And
don't
it's
have to
wits end. Wits end.
Wits End. I'm at my Wits End Mosaic.
Okay. We'll link
Um,
them.
yeah, there's a couple of different like online smaller businesses that I'd rather
Ah,
people be directed to, and probably you'll get better money, like bang for your
yeah.
buck. All
Okay.
right, so if you have let's say we're gonna start with like you have a piece like
You
this.
just
You're
actually
gonna
did it. That was so exciting. Woo!
you're gonna you're gonna continue splitting it in half basically. That's what I was
Okay.
taught. You don't want to like start off way over here. You're gonna have
Oh,
pieces flying off to the edge. So
yep.
you're
So you
gonna
want a
take
bigger chunk.
your cutter, yeah, place it right in the middle, and then apply pressure. So
Okay.
now I've got a smaller rectangle. Now I'm
Yep.
gonna make a square. Now I'm gonna make a
Nice.
triangle because I'm going to turn that square so it looks like a
Mhm.
diamond. Place it so that it's right down the middle, and it's gonna 50 or 50, it's gonna break perfectly. All right.
Right.
Yeah, so then you got that triangle, and you can just keep literally like, stop me, I keep
Working your way
going.
down.
Yeah. So
Okay. Now the cutter. What's the name of the cutter?
this is the Leponit, Leponit. Definitely my favorite. All of these things also, if you ever take a class from Shara Frank, or if you see what she does
Yeah.
online, all of these, I'll just like preface it by saying like this, I learned everything from her. So
Right.
Leponit was her favorite. It's my favorite. That's
Tile
what I
cutter.
use, my
It's a
go-to.
tile cutter.
Yep. There's also different, if you have more issues with like ergonomics in your hand,
Yeah.
they've got some fancier ones nowadays. So like,
Oh, like a little spring-loaded action so that you save your wrists
well,
probably.
they're both a little springy, but this one, for some reason, the way it's angled, you see how it's
Interesting.
a
Yeah.
little bit off to the side. So
Yeah.
this one, I think it takes off the pressure that you need to apply in order to break it. So it's a little bit easier. And so this
Oh,
might be nice
sure.
for people that have a little bit of a, I don't know,
Right.
problem with their wrist, problem with their little
Right.
soft part of their thumb and hand. That's where you're going to want to put the cutter too. Like take the
Okay.
cutter where your thumb and your pointer finger are, put one
And
of
put it.
the handles, and that's where it's going to really rest, is right in that little thumb pocket.
So, in the whole process, Bailey, what's your favorite? Like, do you like breaking the glass, applying the glass, making the composition? Like, which part? Because you seem kind of fired up with the cutting of it.
I can't stop. My cutting is definitely like, I can tell you what my least favorite part is, and
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is
What's your least
grouting.
favorite? A
I
grout.
hate grouting. And I
Who
think it
doesn't?
might also be that right now we are in my studio, which is a room in my house.
Yeah.
And grouting in here, I feel like I'm always like someone's like, "You're making a mess." And I'm like, "I know." But it's
Yeah.
me telling myself that in my house.
Like, who is that little voice?
Yeah, maybe if I had more of a space to do it, then I wouldn't feel so irritated. But like, I have to
Right.
clean up my wood floors. I'm like, oh, grunt got everywhere.
Right. More like a workshop, less like, because like I know what you mean. In my home, like I have some might call it a studio, but I call it a workshop because it gets messy and dirty and the floor,
Mhm.
And I've been doing a lot of laser cutting lately. So I look like a coal miner. Like I cannot get my hands clean.
Yeah.
Like it's in my skin and like, yeah, I know. Yeah. The price we pay for our art. Like I get it.
Yeah, and I just took off. I bought some really awesome nail polish from Mooncat. They have like color
This
changing ones.
sounds
I
like a
feel like,
past tense story.
but like just took it off, and I only had it on for like a day because I was grouting. I was grouting a
Yep,
pet mosaic the other day, and it just like
that'll do it
didn't stand a
every
chance.
time.
Yeah.
So, what is on your work table right now? Like, what are you working on just for you? Or do you have commissions going right now? Or like, what's on your work table?
Well, for the first time in a long time, I'm gonna make a piece for our house
Nice.
that I'm really excited for. It's gonna be for my husband. He
Oh,
um he has a passion for grilling and for like making really delicious meat. So kind of like your husband,
yes.
we're lucky we got these men that
Oh, I
have a
know.
gift for making good food. So he's a phenomenal burger maker, and I want to make like a vintage style burger sign that says like Zach's Burgers, best in
Oh,
town, or something like that.
cute. Oh my God, Bailey,
So
I love it. I love it so
yeah,
much. It's so funny that you're talking. So, my husband Darren, is an amazing chef, like amazing. And people often ask, when they're here at Big Raven Farm for retreats, they say, do you guys eat like this all the time? Well, no, we do not because it's just so much work, right? It's a lot of work,
yeah.
it's a lot of cleanup, it's a lot of prep. But what happens is, when Darren feeds me, he's like so apologetic because it's not, like chef fare. It's just like normal food. So last night he fed me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on toast and I was thrilled. Like I loved
Oh,
it so much. But he just like, I'm sorry, like it's like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like,
sweet
believe me, it's
man.
fine.
Yeah. No. Anything and
And
everything
his
appreciated.
reaction to it is like the best part, because it's like clearly I'm going to be okay. And it's definitely like a first world problem, but it's very funny when it happens.
He's just ashamed. It's like, it's
So
okay.
will
It's
Zach's
okay.
burger sign be big or will it be little?
I think it'll be maybe like a 16-inch tall by 20 some long.
Okay, it's a
Um,
good size.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
kind of like
I'm excited to like, I don't normally do pieces that have lettering in them. So when I do,
oh,
and I think there's a reason that I don't do too much of that because I do get like it's taxing,
yes, it's
doing like
specific, right? And precise.
yeah, if you go to my Instagram, you'll see I think it's either the second or third recent post, and it's like at the very end of it, I cut out all of the pieces to spell Bailey Ray Mosaics,
Oh
and
yeah,
that
I saw that.
and it's like if people don't, some people don't like their handwriting, and imagine doing that in glass and then being like, ah, like you really
The
have to be in the
time,
mood. Yeah, you
right?
have to be in like an analytical, like very precise mood to do it. But yeah,
Well,
I'm excited.
I get that for sure. So let me tell you what's on my work table.
Mhm.
So last week, I think it was last week, you know how the days run together just more, but I think it was last week. We hosted a 1-day retreat for librarians. And it was amazing. And we just had the best day. It was like a 1 day self-care. And they got massages and we did a craft and we did yoga and they went on a little birding hike and they had a speaker. And then we also just gave them a whole bunch of gifts and like showered them with so much love. So on everybody's place setting, I made a bookboard heart. And I know, right? So cute. And so what I did was I've got a laser cutter now because I really want precision. So I cut out all of the hearts first. And then I made a pattern of 10 pieces. And then I cut all of the books into this 10 pieces. And then I separated the 10 pieces and then I put them all back together. So I mosaiced a little bit differently in that mine are more like puzzle pieces and they all like fit together perfectly because I had like the benefit of the laser cutter.
They're
And so
so
each
cute.
one, I know, thank you. I love them so much. And so what I did then is I put these in our gift shop here at Big Raven Farm so people can like buy the completed ones. But then I also turned them into a kit. And so if you just want to make it, it's already ready to go. And then you just sit down with some wood glue and you make it. But I displayed them on these ornament stands. So like, right? Isn't that just the cutest? So
And it
I
can
guess,
be an ornament too.
yeah, definitely. So what's been on my work table has been figuring out like the process of how to make kind of like a large scale memento for everybody, and especially librarians, something to take with them that every single piece was made from a discarded book. Because going to the garbage is my most favorite place to go to get my materials.
Of
And
course.
so, of course, naturally. Oh, and very exciting news. I'm making friends with the director of the recycling center. And my plan is to kind of butter them up. I'm going to make them one of my pieces called Circles Upon Circles, and it's made with bookboard. Using my drill press, I then cut them into various size circles and then put them back together in a mosaic at different degrees of like warp speed.
Yeah.
Like using different risers. So I'm going to present them with that so they know like what I'm doing when I'm digging in their garbage. Because I just recently learned that when I go to my recycling center, there's a great big gaylord for paperback books, and then they separate hardcover books because they're not disposed of in the same way. So somebody on their staff has to tear off all of the covers and then they recycle them like cardboard. Well, I'm going there before him and I'm ripping off the covers. And so I'm going to make a little proposition that I would gladly take these off their hands before they recycle them. So it'll keep me out of their garbage. And I will also give them treats of what I make with them.
It's a win-win-win. I don't
It
see
is
how
a
they can say no.
win-win-win. Well,
Yeah.
and I have a little bit of like of this. So for me, my materials, this is the end of the line. Like these books are no longer going to be books. Like it's the end. They are, a lot of them come from libraries or they come from schools or they come from Goodwill or other donation centers and they just have too many books or a lot of them are stained or water damaged. Like it's the end of the line. And so at the recycling center, they're going to turn them into whatever they turn them into, but there's definitely a labor cost with removing the covers. Well, here's your friend Joleen. And I'm like, I want the covers. Like I totally want the covers because I have a million ideas for what to use with that book board. So I think I'm being manipulative, but I'm okay with that. It gets me craft
Game of recycling, how could you?
Right.
That's not a bad manipulation by any means.
Right. Well, and I just kind of too, like when I talked to them on the phone, they were like, "You do what now?" And I'm like, let me just bring you a little something. Let me just bring you a little something and you can see what these things turn into, right? Because I would imagine they would have never, guessed that a person could take that garbage and turn it into something else. So I'm selfish. I'm kind of excited about their reaction, right? Because I think that might be kind of fun. You did what?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I do that same thing where I'm like, I want to make, like when I made that dog mosaic for my friend and I'm like, I want to see the
Right?
joy on her face.
Right? And I I don't know if I struggle, or I guess I wonder. I wonder if that's selfish and if that selfishness is okay, because I do really like it. Like, I love the joy or the happiness or the oh my goodness or the like, I get a real kick out of that. I love it when someone opens up something I've made, especially for them. I don't know what the answer is, but I'm going to keep
I
doing it
think
because it feels good.
I think especially for things that humans hand make, that
Yeah.
that's extra special. It's not just you being like, oh, I bought you a
Right.
thing at
Right.
wherever, which that could be cute too,
Of
buying a
course.
little something something. But when you
Mhm.
make something, I feel like you've voluntarily given them like a little heirloom, like
Oh,
why
yeah.
why would they ever get rid of it? Like it's gonna follow with them throughout their
Yep.
life and maybe
Well,
they'll
and
have it in
Bailey,
their family
too,
forever.
to your point, um, some of my children too will even say, "Hey, mom, I want blah for my next gift. Like, make me
Mhm,
one of those."
mhm.
And so that's a pretty good feeling. And
Yeah.
sometimes the requests are like, "Oh my God, that takes so long to make," you know. And other times I'm like, "You got it." But I think you and I have in common this mosaic idea. You for sure. Me, I've been asking the listeners of my pod. We've been working on this problem for so long. Is what kind of grout might a person use with a dry medium, right? Like, my
Mm,
substrate can't get wet. And so we have brainstormed, black hot glue that maybe I could wipe away while it's still malleable. A really dear listener of the show emailed me and suggested texture paste that maybe I could, dye black in some kind of way. But like, that's the thing with bookboard. You're cutting it with a scissors, a laser, a bandsaw, a scroll saw. You're cutting it with something. You can't, snip it apart and get a nice
mhm.
line. And so that has been my quest, Bailey. My quest is, what could be the grout on a book board? So if you think of
But
it,
but Jolene,
yeah,
why does it need grout? Why?
that is such a good question. Maybe it's this like chase of the perfect, like I don't want you to know that there are gaps in between, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I'll
Like
have to think about that.
there are some mosaics that don't that you'll use
Ah,
an epoxy as the adhesive that you push into, and that kind of
mm-hmm.
becomes the grout because it pushes up
Rises
every
up a
time you
bit.
put a piece. Yeah, so I would argue that, yeah,
Interesting.
ask the why. Why are you grouting?
Like the esoteric, like, why do I need grout? It's an age
Yes.
old question, Bailey. It really is. Why does a person need grout?
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna make it into a bathroom floor. Like, it's just
No.
it can survive without it, and
Yes, it's
that's
just
the
to
reason
hide
mosaics
gaps.
have it, is to keep it intact. So,
I should
yeah,
look at groutless mosaics and see if I can't find some inspiration, because I think that like
yeah,
that's where I'm kind of stuck, is like, I don't want you to know that they don't fit together perfect. It's kind of like my little secret. So that's a really good
yeah,
idea. So, well,
yeah.
okay, let me just say, oh my gosh, so great to have you here today. And you've been so generous with your wealth of knowledge and getting those of us who dabble and like love to be enticed by a new crafty endeavor. Thank you so much. I'll be sure to link all of the things that you mentioned and the people who have inspired you and all of that sort of stuff. But before I let you go, I ask all of our guests the same set of questions, and so it is that time in our show where I'm going to ask them of you as well. You can elaborate if you want to. You can give one word answers. It's completely up to you. Just gives us a little chance to get to know you better. And so the first one is easy, I think, maybe. Bailey, what is your favorite word?
Oh, favorite word. Um, oh boy. I'm looking at all
I
the
should have
words.
said it was easy. I should have said, this is the hardest question of your life.
I might say one of the words that my mom made up is
Oh,
that it's weird. It's a word that when I use it, people are like, "What did you just say?"
I make up
It's an
words. I can't wait.
exclamation. It's an
Yeah.
exclamation when it's like, "Oh wow," or like, "Ugh." She says, "Holy hemina." I'm like, "Holy hemina." So I would say, yeah, I'm gonna throw some props to my mom and say the word that she created.
Holy hemina, I love that. I love that so much. I've been known to make up words too, but usually it's like when I'm live streaming, a craft demo, and if I like burn myself, I'll say something like shamanala or something stupid, so I don't swear.
Yeah.
But I gotta
Yeah.
say, I really think I'm going to plagiarize your mom. That's awesome. I love that so much. So
Like
then
when
do
you
you
see
have
a really beautiful flower, you're like, holy hemina, that's beautiful.
I love it in context. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So do you have a least favorite word?
Probably I was gonna get political for a second and be like, I don't know, like Republican. No, I don't know.
Danger, right?
Yeah. Probably can't. Maybe like I can't. It's like you can't or you won't.
Right,
Sometimes that
right.
becomes a word that I think people they use too much in it, but you can. Sometimes you can.
Yeah. I think for me, this one, it's situational, it's environmental, it just really kind of depends. But right now, I'm kind of in a bruh stage. Like my son calls me bruh, and I kind of want to hurt him. Like I kind of want to like I kind of want to
Like,
get a hold of him. And I mean, before anyone goes nuts, he's 21 years old, right? He's a full grown man. But I think it's just like a tick or a habit, kind of like a person might say or have a little pause. I
yeah.
don't even think he knows he says it. It's just like a connector word for him. And I haven't shared with him that it's just kind of like fingernails on a chalkboard for me.
Oh.
I'm just like,
The way
oh.
to tell him is through the podcast.
Right? You heard it here publicly, my son. Yeah, no.
Listen up.
He's probably going to do it more because I said it. He's just that kind of lovely child. He's the best.
Oh.
Anyway, okay, now here's an important one. Like this is so important and so critical because this is honestly my favorite food. So Bailey, what is the best kind of sandwich?
Oh,
This is important
I
stuff.
think, oh my gosh. Well, I'm going to be really specific. I'm going to tell
Yes,
you
please.
where this sandwich lives. This
Ooh.
sandwich is in Duluth
Okay,
at
Duluth,
the
Minnesota. Yep.
Northern Waters Smokehouse. It's in Canal, like near Canal Park in that
Okay.
area.
Okay.
And I think it's like the cold sandwich. I don't know. It has
Okay.
turkey and lettuce, and they make this like cran raspberry aioli mayo. And we go out of our way. My husband and I will make a pit stop
To take
specifically
that
just to
sandwich.
grab those sandwiches. Like,
Mhm.
we could go to Culver's, we could go to McDonald's, but it's like,
Right.
no, I've been
Yeah.
dreaming of this sandwich for 5 weeks. Like, let's go. And Zach will he'll get two sometimes, and then he'll have another. Like it's a pro move to have one for the future.
That is a pro move. I don't remember
And
that. I'm gonna remember that I can do that. Like I have
yeah,
agency like to get another one if I want to.
yeah.
It reminds me, Bailey, it reminds me of a sandwich from my past that I used to love so much. I don't remember what the name of it was, but it was okay. So visualize the toast. It was kind of like grainy with like little seeds in it, and it was
Mm.
toasted really well. And then it was turkey, um, Swiss cheese, cranberry sauce, Granny Smith apples, and then
Yes.
some other kind of lubricant of some kind. I don't remember what it was, but it
Oh,
was
I figured out my
so
least
good.
favorite word. It's lubricant. No.
Fair enough. That's fair. Yeah. I forgot where I was for a moment. That's what we
That's
say
fine.
when we're like, what do you want on your sandwich? But yeah, it was
Yeah.
so good. It was the Granny Smith apples and the cranberry and like that crunch. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm dreaming about it right now. It's so good.
If
So
anybody
good.
out there watches 30 Rock, you'll see I have a sign over here that says "Working on my night cheese." That's
Yeah.
from that. But also, she at one point is giving advice to a future child, like doing a video to record
Yeah.
and for them to watch in the future. And
Yeah, in
she's
the
like,
future.
"Put chips on the sandwich." And
Yes.
ever since she said that, I put chips on almost every sandwich I make because it
So do
has that
I.
crunch.
So
and
do I.
just a little sprinkle. Yeah.
I put it on the peanut butter and jelly last night. I sure did. I put it in between, I scrunched it down, and it was absolutely delicious. And like one of the things I am most proudest in my life is my engineer husband, my straight lace, I don't eat mayonnaise husband is now putting chips on his sandwich. I did that.
Mic
I
drop.
converted
Yeah.
him.
Who's the chef now? Yes,
Yeah,
chef.
that's right. No, I think sandwiches are important. They're like my favorite food always. Because toast, I love toast, right? So this anyway. I'm sorry. Next one then. Do you believe that an animal can be scary? And if so, which animal is the scariest?
Scary animals. You know, I watch a lot of documentaries. I watch a
Yeah, me
lot
too.
of David Attenborough. He is literally like I don't want him to ever die, but I know that he will because he's like 99 years old. Um, but I feel like he's taught me, and maybe a little bit of Steve Irwin too. I grew up watching Steve
Yeah,
Irwin, and they they taught us that like every animal is pretty
pretty
amazing.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say that there's one that I've seen where I'm like, Gah! Um, but I would say that there's some things at the bottom of the ocean. I
Oh,
respect
yeah,
the
yeah.
ocean, but
Prehistoric.
I'm pretty afraid of the ocean. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
there's
me
something
too.
about,
There's no
and
coming back from that.
no,
Like there's no
like,
coming back from a run-in, like you're done.
like mad respect to the ocean, but like I'm
Right.
gonna watch from the shore
Me too.
because you're filled with things that we haven't even begun to figure out.
Well, I don't know. It was maybe last week, Darren and I were talking about would you ever want a boat or something was the question.
Mm,
And I used to have a boat. I used to have a speed boat and, did all those Minnesota things with the kids, taking them out tubing and water skiing and knee boarding and all of that stuff. And then we got rid of our boat and, life was okay without the stress of the boat and whatnot. And
mhm.
Darren doesn't like power boats because they're loud and noisy. And he would prefer
Yeah,
to be like on a canoe or a kayak and moving it along by his own propeller or
same.
whatever. And then he said, but I would like to maybe take a sailboat or a big yacht type thing. I don't know what the right word is, but like go out on the ocean, like where you could actually go somewhere. And Bailey, honest to goodness, I had like anxiety in that moment. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, there's no way I'm going somewhere in like a person captained boat that doesn't have like
Like a
staff.
tipsy topsy
Right,
boat. No,
right.
thank
Like
you.
people
No,
who know what they're doing, like, no way. If I can't see the shore and I'm not in like a big safe thing, like forget about it. Like it actually freaked me out. It's like, no way.
forget
Not
about it. No, no.
because of this thing, right? Because I'm with you. The ocean, mad respect, scares me to pieces.
We were just in Jamaica for our honeymoon in February, and I swam. Like I'm a good swimmer, and I love swimming. But
Here, but
the last day we're there, um, we saw these like bat rays and these like stingrays, and I was like,
were you thinking of
those were
Steve
there.
Irwin? I
They
can't
were
see a
there the
stingray without.
whole time. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I guess there's also barracuda near. I was like, what? I would have never gone in.
Right?
Which I guess is good.
Exactly.
I didn't like learn that until later because I would have
Right.
missed out on swimming and it was beautiful. But also, good. No, thank you.
That's a favorite word too, because I know exactly what that word means.
Ugh.
For me, this question about a scary animal, I talked about it on the show a couple weeks ago, and it's still so. I think that I've seen too many social media videos about friendly raccoons and like people raising raccoons in their house, and like I'm like, oh, look at that sweet raccoon. And we have lots of them here on the farm, and I have never thought a thing about it other than like as long as you guys stay out of my plants, like don't dig up my succulents and be jerks, we can all kind
There
of
you go.
live in harmony. But recently we had a raccoon steal into our chicken coop and like take one of our ladies away, like at night, like just came and got her. And
Oh,
yeah, and I heard all the commotion because the windows were open. And so I alerted Darren. Darren went out there. He interrupted the abduction in process, and we thought it was over.
oh,
And
yeah.
then he came back, or she came back, and did it again, and this time was successful. So now I have this new, I know, right? Now I have this new like apprehension about these raccoons because I'm like, please don't take my ladies. Like, can't we just live side by side? Like, leave my chickens alone. I know you have to take care of your babies or whatever, but like, stop taking my chickens. So I'm
But
a little fearful of this one particular raccoon.
that's funny that you bring up raccoons because I grew up being very afraid. I feel like
Did you?
a friend told me a story about how raccoons, I think she made it up, but like I am the most gullible person in the world. And
Same.
she was like, yeah, these scratches on the door, those are raccoons. They're trying to get us. And we lived in a place where there were raccoons in our
Yeah,
backyard. And I would like not go to the campfire because I'm like,
raccoons.
there might be a raccoon, maybe.
Right? So I don't know. Well, and my friend Paige said that like she like asked like a DNR person or something, like what is my friend Joleen going to do about these raccoons? And that person was like, they've gotten a taste. Like they're going to keep coming back because like they got a taste.
Oh no!
Yes, they got like a taste of the chicken, and like you got to be careful because now they know where the source
Lock
is,
the
and they're gonna.
door.
I know, and they're gonna keep coming back. So we now have a like an alarm set. Like make sure the ladies are locked up. I mean, I'm talking about chickens if you're just joining. So make sure the chickens are
Love those ladies.
make sure the chickens are locked up, that the hatch is closed. Like make sure we like, get everybody nice and safe. Because that is like it's traumatic for everyone because well, I love having chickens on the farm. Like they add so much. And like they're dinosaurs, Bailey. They really are. Like the noises they make, their claws, their thing, they're dinosaurs. Like you can't convince me that
My
they're not.
my stepdad and my mom have, well, I'm going to say that they're my stepdads, his ladies. Like you said,
Yes.
we call them the ladies as well. But I'm fearful for them. I'm like, you poor, well, and then they can be so aggressive to each other though. That's another
They
story.
can. I know. You don't. Nature it's the worst sometimes. Okay, but let's talk about you. So here's another one like for you. I'm very curious. So
Mm,
like you are an artist and you have been since you were a teenager and you make these incredible works of art that have been appreciated by the public. They're on public display in some cases, purchased by people who love you. So okay, how does that feel? Like what does that mean to you that you are an artist?
I feel very lucky.
Mhm.
Especially, I mean, I feel like I'm gonna always rant and rave about, back in my day in the 90s when when we had really bad dial-up internet, if
Yeah.
any internet, um, and we learned how to like entertain ourselves outside of screens. But nowadays,
Mhm.
not everybody has that kind of an outlet. And for
Mhm.
me to have that, and have it be instilled in me from, childhood, uh, it just feels so lucky to be able to escape the screen, escape the
Yeah.
matrix for a while, and
Mhm.
to be able to have a product or like a
An end
physical
result.
thing that I've made, yeah, at
Mhm.
the end and be able to like look at it and be like, wow. Especially with mosaics, um, I love to touch them at the end.
Yeah.
Like you don't touch them in the process because before you grout, you're risking cutting your fingers. Like
Right, right.
I'm probably risking it a little bit right now doing this, but the
But here I go.
there's something there's something about like, and maybe this is craft. I've been
Right.
told a lot from professors and stuff that like mosaic isn't art, it's craft. And
Uh,
for a while that I was very, I mean, I'm still a little jaded about that, but
yeah.
in the end, I'm like, craft has existed as long as humans. Like
Mhm.
we have functional objects. Like what's wrong with having something that can be functional?
Right.
What's wrong with I don't know. Yeah, like I just feel very lucky that
Mhm.
I just always loved it, Like I
Yeah.
know people I art class in elementary school. I was like, yes, art class,
Right.
finally.
Finally, the
Like we don't
good
have to go to
stuff.
gym today. Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody else would be like, art class. And I'm like, literally,
Mhm.
this is the best. What are you talking about? But
Right.
yeah, to each their own. Everybody has their own
I I
love.
identify with that so much, and I think that, like, for me, I was, like, a closet crafter for a while. Like, I almost didn't want anyone to know, and I think that's when I was a lot younger, because back in my day, like my grandma, bless her heart, like my grandma made all of the grandchildren soda pop hats, soda can hats. Do you know about
Oh,
these?
yeah.
Okay, yeah. So for those of you that don't know, mine was Dr. Pepper, and it was probably 4 cans that she cut into rectangles with rounded edges. And then she punched them so that she could then crochet them together and make it into a hat. And mine was Dr. Pepper. And when I opened it, I remember going, huh, how about that?
Yeah.
Or like I was so jaded and like I looked at it as kind of a less than gift. And now I wish I still had it. I wish I would have been able to look at my grandma and be like, you made 22 of those because, she had 22 grandchildren.
Oh
And
my
like,
God.
right. And it was made by her hands. And like, even though some might say a little on the crafty side, it was the love and the intention that this woman put into them that I'm ashamed to say went right over my head. And if I could like have that moment in time back to like stop doing that, right? Stop doing that. This is art, this is craft, and just come back to when something is made with love, even if it's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and the chef doesn't think it's worthy of his note, I still am so grateful. I'm still so appreciative. And I don't know, I like dance around in this space a lot because coming from my own judgments. Because the same woman even made me the Barbie toilet roll cover.
Oh, sure. I was like,
Yeah.
Barbie
So
toilet. Barbie
yeah, so
toilet.
like the Barbie's legs go in the hole of the toilet paper, and then her dress goes over
Oh,
to cover
okay.
the toilet paper.
Cute.
And I wish I still had it. I don't have it, but like, that woman was a genius, like I wish I still had these things. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I feel grateful and lucky, and I wish that I would have known then what I know now. So
And you know what? It's art. I don't care. I call
yeah.
it art. It's art. Eh,
Yep. Right. And it's in the eye of the beholder. I think you're absolutely right. Okay, what
yeah.
about this one? So, is there a sound or a noise that you love? I kind of think you love the sound of of your tile and glass breaking.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say of my chair because I'm like, I have a very squeaky chair. Like, I don't love that. Yeah, I do love I mean, yeah, that ASMR
Yeah.
of like of the breaking of glass. I would say I also really love my dog makes this noise when I rub in his ear, and he's like, mm.
Yeah.
and
That's awesome.
and and I like, and he doesn't always do it, but when sometimes he's like, oh, and I get joy every time. I also, listening to a kitty purr, listening
Sure.
to, yeah, I play piano, and I'll always tear up a little for like Claire de Lune. I
Sure.
know
Who
this isn't
doesn't?
exactly one sound or one noise.
Yeah.
And also, for the longest time, I didn't know. When my grandma died, we got one thing from her. As a
Yeah.
kid, I took one thing from her house, and it was this windmill that you wind, and it's a
Yeah.
music box.
Oh.
And I didn't know the name of the song for the majority of like my childhood because you couldn't Google it back then. You
Hmm.
couldn't be like Siri, what is this? It's Moon River. Like, so that
Oh,
song also has like a weird, like, I think of my grandma. Like, I
of
think of
course.
my windmill every time.
Hmm.
Oh no, Siri's listening to me.
Oh,
Get out of here.
those are so great. Those are great. I think noises too for me can, bring back memories and like I have a favorite one recently. I was digitizing some videos so that we have them forever and ever from, back in the day before our videos were digital. And it's of my son Jack, and he's just a baby. And in the background, I hear my dad say, hey kiddo, I think he needs something. And he's talking to me. And my dad passed away a long time ago. But his voice out of nowhere just like grabbed me like a hook. And I like rewind. And I must have played it so many
Yeah.
times. But I absolutely love hey kiddo, because he was talking to me and I was 30 years old or whatever. um
Yeah.
but I love it. I love it
Oh,
so
that's
much.
a
And
good one.
isn't that good?
Oh,
And I'm so glad that I found it because, like, it's before things were digital. So I don't have the
yeah,
sounds of my dad in a way that I can get it kind of quickly.
yeah.
So yeah, it's a treasure now. It's an absolute treasure. I'm so
I
glad I
love
found
that.
it. I know, right?
Oh,
I know.
I want to throw one more sound in there.
Yeah.
Loon calls. Loon
Oh,
calls. I have a loon tattoo. I love loons.
I do
I'll
too.
put
That
it in
is
there.
a very Minnesota specific sound too. Great friends in the greater outside the great state. Like it's so cool. You should Google it because it sounds amazing. It sounds like
Yeah,
summer to me or summer mornings. Like I am
yeah.
reminded of, lake life in the summertime. I love it.
When they call back and forth to each other, when we're up north, they
Oh
will
yeah.
like call between the lakes, and then I saw a video of like how they look when they do it, and it just was wild. Anyways,
That's awesome. Okay, let's jump to this one. So other than the profession that you are in, is there something else you would like to attempt?
yeah, I've been thinking about this one. In another life, or I don't know, maybe I'll have a business 10 years from now. I don't even know about. I think I could do not graphic design. Sorry, interior design. I think
Oh,
I would love to work with people to like curate
put
their
it
home
together.
and yeah,
Curate your home. I love that. Yeah,
yeah,
I like that better than put it together. I think curate is a great word.
because
Just yeah, I
everybody,
would
yeah,
yeah.
helping people find like they
Mhm.
don't know how to define it sometimes, but it's like I like this one thing. You're like, let's build around it. Let's or
Yes,
like maybe
exactly.
just teaching people or helping them through the process, not necessarily just taking the job and running with it, but saying like
Mhm.
this is collaborative. Like let's
Yeah.
make sure that this all means something as well.
I love that. Just today I was cleaning up our bedroom and in a big property like ours, it's like we prioritize our guest spaces before our own. And
Mhm.
so like, we've painted and refurbished and just done an amazing job in the places where people are, but in our own spaces it's like what the hell? So like so like our bedroom, Bailey, on the first night of occupancy in our bedroom, there was a piece of wallpaper, like just kind of hanging. And it was
Mm.
probably like it was the whole width of the sheet of wallpaper.
Oh,
And there must
oh
have been like
man.
6 inches not attached to the wall. And so I was curious. So I pulled it and
Yeah.
the whole thing came down, like the whole sheet. And I was like, oh my God, awesome. So I went around the bedroom. I kept going and I kept going, and they were all coming down in full sheets until they didn't. Until they started like ripping in these long stalactites, where I've got like this big long triangle of just wallpaper and it will not come down. We are about to celebrate our 5th anniversary, and those stalactites are still there. Like I just
Some things are
walked.
forever.
Yeah, I just walked away. It's like I didn't like I don't see you. You're not there greeting me every single day. But I was thinking about it today. I'm like, I think it's time to like put a little bit of energy into our own space. Like we deserve it.
Yeah.
Let's get the stalactites down and maybe
Yeah.
paint over this mess. But yeah, I think the curation is the word that I was like, yeah, I was just thinking about that today, that I would love to
Yeah.
have my bedroom be not so gross. But anyway, okay, one more for you. One more. What brings you like the most happiness?
Oh, it's gotta be friends and family. My friends are my family.
Yeah.
I love them so much. They've been like, and I'm lucky enough to say that I have friends that have been with me literally through the best and the worst,
Sure.
and all in between, and I know that I can talk to them about anything and vice versa,
Mhm.
and it's just really, like, I feel like I wake up sad every day knowing that I don't live in a neighborhood where all my friends are just walkable, like,
Right.
I think that there is a loneliness epidemic among everybody. I know people say
Mhm.
men thing, but I think that humans aren't meant to live in like the structure that we've created. We need our
Right.
community, and it would be so much nicer if it was more effortless because they do genuinely make everything in my life better. And yeah, I I love you,
Mm.
friends. You know who you are.
They're so lucky to have you. I agree with you. I mean, friends and family, most certainly. And, I had a similar experience just a couple weeks ago. Maybe it was last week. I don't know. It all blurs. But we had a craft retreat. It was a pick your projects retreat. And the people attending that retreat are my friends, a big group of my friends, and they don't live in my neighborhood or my state. And I actually teared up a little bit when they left because I just loved being in community with them and being artsy fartsy and having the most amazing time. And I agree with you. It's like, and I think my tears were more about, I wish we could go grab a cup of coffee, um, and
That it
spend
was just
time together.
easy. Yeah.
Because it was easy.
Like,
Yeah, it
I
was
think
just
that
so connecting.
that's why people reminisce about college, I think. Yeah, like sure,
Yeah,
everybody's wild and doing their thing, but you create your community and then you also have this accessibility that you won't have ever again
right.
unless we as a society decide to like create little communes for our
Mhm.
favorite people, which maybe someday, but yeah.
Well, friends, Bailey and I both love you all so much, and wish we could spend more time together. But Bailey, oh my gosh, thank you so much for being such a great guest today. I told you time would go by so fast. I can't believe it's already over. I will make sure that we link all the things that you told us about and all the ways that we can find you. And once again, thank you for being so generous with your expertise. I feel like I know just enough to dabble and give it a try, and I'm very excited to do so. So, thank you so much for being on the Happy Time Craftcast.
Thank you for having me. It was so much fun, and I look forward to potentially working with you again at the retreats or something.
That would be so great. That would be so great. Oh my God, we would love it. And for those of you listening, please join me next time, July 9th. Deborah D'Onofrio is going to be my guest. And Deborah is a Reiki master. She's a mixed media artist, and she helps people create a healing journey through creativity. And I can't wait to talk to her. That is July 9th. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much, Bailey. And we'll see you all next time
Bye.
on the Happy Time Craftcast. Bye, everybody.